Ghost Rider versus Spawn is a very hotly debated matchup that's honestly been debated for a while, even before Death Battle covered it. Yet Death Battle did cover it, and how did they do? Well, the video was certainly entertaining. I love the lines, I love the animation. Boomstick and Whiz are as funny as ever, but there's a lot of misinformation in the episode, which, once again, no hate to people working on the episode or anything, but Death Battle is commonly criticized for giving a lot of misinformation. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and explaining why I think this episode of Death Battle is wrong, even by their own logic, actually. Pretty much we're going to be going over the 4 categories they mentioned and their reasoning why Spawn would fit into this matchup. Power, skill, hacks and abilities, as well as versatility, but they kind of all just fall in the same range. Mostly they're just talking about as hacks. And resistances. And I also mentioned speed, since for some reason that's not a category they mentioned at the end, which is weird. And is especially important for their win con, they argue for Spawn. But first, let's go over power. And while they are right, Ghost Rider is more powerful, the way they quantify it just kind of proves Ghost Rider wins in itself. They obviously had Ghost Rider as just much more powerful, which, once again, is something I don't disagree with. But they quantify him as so much more powerful, Spawn's hacks wouldn't matter because of the potency of these hacks. They pretty much only say Spawn is universal and that the best thing he can do is recreate a universe. While they say base Ghost Rider is around the same level for fighting people like Strange and Thor, which is weird because Death Battle has not only just scaled these characters higher, they admit the fact that a Marvel universe is not a normal universe, which is just true even to their lowballed extent. The Marvel Universe is something that contains several higher dimensions from 4D to 6D, even arguably 12D, to the universe arguably containing infinite numbers of space-time, multidimensional realms, and how these dimensions are infinitely superior to the lower ones and even outright have things like hyperspace. And while they don't use my exact same logic, they once again have scaled these beings like Thor higher than Universal because they know that a Marvel universe is not equivalent to the normal universes that Spawn creates, since they never quantify Spawn's universe is above just a basic Universal. If they say that Spawn caps at Uni and they scale Zarathos to the infinite Marvel Cosmic Multiverse, with a black box saying that Spawn can affect infinite timelines, they just later say how Zarathos is essentially a transcendent to that and scales to like infinite upon infinite number of that he would scale so much higher that it doesn't matter anything else at that point, since Spawn would essentially be 3D and Ghost Rider would be 4D if not higher, or maybe Spawn is 4D and they have Ghost Rider like infinitely higher or transcendent to 4D, then Spawn's hacks just wouldn't have the potency to affect Ghost Rider. Literally just flick his fingers and Spawn would die. That's how big the gap is, because they quite literally have Ghost Rider transcendent to Spawn. He is just that much more powerful by their own logic, because a hack's potency will determine if Spawn could win this, which, once again, they never scaled Spawn's hack's potency to above Universal. A 3D thing, no matter what, cannot affect a 4D object, or as well as something infinitely more potent than whatever Spawn has in this scenario. Well, they also use the argument that Ghost Rider holds back Zarathos, which when Ghost Rider is, like, calling for Zarathos, kind of just lets Zarathos do his own thing. We see this with things like World War Hulk. And even if that doesn't really excuse the power, since they use Zarathos just normal in the fight and clearly make it applicable. Like, once again, by their own logic, Ghost Rider would backhand Spawn. And something to note is that Ghost Rider has the same scaling they listed for Zarathos anyways. And they're completely aware of King in Hell, and they even mention King in Hell. The same King in Hell Ghost Rider, who once again beats Mephisto, who was like their main line for scaling. And even base Ghost Rider has these same statements of threatening the entire cosmology, which I don't know why they're acting like this is only a Zarathos thing. And for some reason base Ghost Rider is comparable to Spawn, which by their own logic, it's not. But obviously this is just lowballed for both. I think they're lowballing both, which is a common sentiment of Death Battle. Well, I do think Spawn is definitely above Uni. I mean, there's several things from like infinite universes with infinite timelines, as well as higher levels of existence with people like Magable devouring billions of these worlds, as well as things like the overlap and infinite timeless realm, arguably getting spawned to 5D since he just scales above it, or low complex multiversal, maybe even infinite 5D. But this just doesn't compare to Marvel's bullshit cosmology, like the infinite Marvel multiverse that has infinite spatial dimensions, or even the fact how some scans say how like infinite universes have dimensional planes higher than infinite 5D. I've simply yet to see how Spawn can beat Marvel cosmology. Marvel cosmology is bullshit, and Spawn's is just not as bullshit. It's just saying Spawn doesn't scale to Marvel cosmology, and Ghost Rider does. It's that simple, and a lot of people have said this before for a reason. Once again, as I mentioned before, not only infinite spatial dimensions in the entire multiverse, which Ghost Rider scales to by their own admission, and he just does via several statements and the characters he fights, but at the very least, even the universes have like 6D to 12D and so on, applications for the universe just higher than, at best, the infinite 5D cosmology which Spawn scales to. Even if Spawn infinitely transcends the infinite 5D construct, which he doesn't, he just destroys it and remakes it. Something that's also really weird is they never really give base Spawn anything impressive. The things I've mentioned so far are for Divine Spawn. They try to argue he has some power because he killed Satan again, implying his power to his divine self, but that was because of a specific sword that he doesn't usually have and that's stronger than him. And even if it doesn't really imply he has similar power to his divine self, they at least gave like a base Ghost Rider, like basic shit, like Thor and Strange scaling, who, check out why they don't have to elaborate on that much. They've talked about Thor and Strange before and these general high tiers in Marvel, so I get why they didn't like have a whole rant about that. So even that, by their own logic, what's stopping Ghost Rider from just overpowering Spawn before the two even transform? Considering base Ghost Rider, by their own logic, is stronger than a base Spawn. Like, a lot stronger. Infinitely stronger, pretty much. So what's stopping Ghost Rider from just, once again, backhanding Spawn, and Spawn dies? It's, once again, like, not... It's really weird. They don't understand the power gap between the two. They only really quantify Divine Spawn scaling. And even then, it's so below Ghost Rider scaling that it doesn't matter. Even if you just ignore the low balls Death Battle has, Ghost Rider still slams. And once again, something I also think Death Battle is wrong on, that they argue for Ghost Rider. Zarathos doesn't come out that much. He just kind of like isn't there for some time. And because most of the scaling he has in Zarathos at this point, he has in base, as I said before. Skill. While I do think that Spawn is much more skilled, that's kind of just undeniable. I do agree. I mean, he's a military-trained combatant who at least can go toe-to-toe with a version of Batman, who should still be very skilled. The gap in their skill set isn't so large that Ghost Rider just can't keep up, or Spawn would just like be doing tricks around him or something. With Ghost Rider being quite skilled, he can use his power to handle a whole group of Avengers on several occasions, even including skilled fighters and magicians like Captain America, Strange, Wanda, and more. So once again, it's not like Ghost Rider is not skilled, or is just going to be utterly outskilled by Spawn, but Spawn is much more skilled. It's kind of as simple as that. Once again, Spawn is going on to hacks and versatility. While Spawn is more versatile than Ghost Rider, I do agree with them on that. I don't think Spawn's hacks are a firm win con, which we'll get into in Resistance, but let's just compare the general hacks they have. Spawn has durability negation via going inside and exploding, use several forms of reality manipulation, memory manipulation, biological manipulation, density manipulation, matter manipulation. His suit constantly grows and evolves, he can regenerate, even fatal wounds, poison manipulation, and non-physical interaction and manipulation, energy absorption, time stop, black holes, cosmic awareness, telekinesis, sealing, power nullification, BFR, gravity manipulation. Ghost Rider has soul manipulation, attacks, possession, mind control, regeneration, time manipulation, and BFR. Once again, Spawn is more versatile, I do agree. Ghost Rider's hacks are more potent, which this battle didn't cover over. It's a very thing to cover, that the hack's potency should be mentioned, which once again, this battle just doesn't cover that. It just goes off of versatility. Quality is better than quantity, which a lot of Spawn's hacks just aren't really win cons, or are just not even combat applicable sometimes. He doesn't even use a lot of them in combat, He only really uses them in non-combat scenarios a lot of the times, or just in really basic rudimentary scenarios. Nothing could suggest he uses a lot of these abilities in combat, while Ghost Rider's hacks are just flat out like direct attacks that could work on Spawn, and once again, due to their scaling, are much more potent resistances. So their argument is that several hacks that Spawn has would just beat Ghost Rider, even with the higher AP. Even ignoring the potency point I mentioned before, we're just gonna go over why this is wrong. Spawn could reality warp Ghost Rider, is one of the arguments they use, yet not only by their own admission, those Ghost Riders just face tank reality warping in the face on several occasions. But on several occasions, Doctor Strange's magic and Dr. Voodoo, another Sorcerer Supreme, which even current Strange, if someone Ghost Rider can beat the hell up. Once again, all these magic spells and things just shrug off, which as well as just once again flat out reality warping. With Zekel resisting reality warping on a level so damn potent, it was rewriting creation of reality, and since Zarathos just fucking tanks it, almost in a similar way in how Spawn was rewriting creation. I wonder if there's a direct correlation with this that can prove that Ghost Rider can resist Spawn's reality warping, but Death Battle chooses to ignore it. But magic is just incredibly powerful in Marvel. To put it in perspective how potent even basic magic is, since they're Sorcerer Supreme, obviously they would be able to utilize the highest capabilities of magic. Magic being an idea simply outside of time that with science formed in the universe and exists as a constant throughout the entire Marvel cosmology, not just 616. Even the entire infinitely spatial cosmology of Marvel being wiped away by the Beyonders did not destroy the concept of magic, with Doctor Doom and Strange retaining their magic among many other properties. I will leave a link for magic and Marvel in the description and just how potent it is, with reality warping just being a facet that even basic magic and basic sorcerers can do, such as move around and rewrite the universe. Obviously this magic is at least not comparable, if not vastly above what Spawn's magic can offer in terms of potency and variety, and Ghost Rider on several occasions just shrugs off these high tier magic, uses attacks like nothing, just flat out face tanking it. There's no reason that it wouldn't apply for Spawn here too. This also applies for other Spawn hacks they mentioned, such as Spawn's transmutation, considering magic can also be done to do things such as change the molecules and electrons of an object to make things into other objects. In fact, magic can even be used to revert transmutation. So not only is Spawn not able to do any form of reality warping to Ghost Rider, or transmutation either, even the power stealing thing, which Spawn does actually have, would not work since Strange tried to snuff out and steal his powers, but simply just failed. And so have other attacks that, while they negated and stole all their powers, he was just kind of chilling. And he even tried to get exorcised once and failed. The penance there working on other Ghost Riders and that stuff is probably something only other Ghost Riders can do, since they're both Ghost Riders. It's not like Spawn could power steal Ghost Rider's power simply because another Ghost Rider did it when we see consistently that Ghost Rider can resist these other characters with, if not even better, magic than Spawn, just kind of be tanked by Ghost Rider. And Death Battle mentions and shows Ghost Rider beating up Strange, yet don't mention in like the same fight Strange saying he's gonna snuff out Ghost Rider. Spawn's time animation would also just not work, as Ghost Rider should just be above time via his scaling, but Ghost Rider has the same hacks outright. There's nothing showing Spawn could resist attacks on the soul, or at least things of Ghost Rider's potency. Death Battle says he can, but their reasoning is really faulty. Constantly having the sins of the opponent on you is very different from direct attacks from the soul, with the soul being burned. It's kind of just like high mental fortitude, if anything. Especially since he can't regenerate from the soul. And pretty much every single one of Ghost Rider's attacks has this potent soul damaging hellfire. That's a pretty easy win con. Even if you think Ghost Rider's higher dimensional scaling would just flat out get past any regen or immortality Spawn has. Both of the immortalities and regens are pretty much the same when it comes to that department, so I don't think that's really a factor. Both have pretty high tear regeneration and immortality. But I think in terms of just pure hacks, both have ways to get around it, except Ghost Riders are just more potent and direct. When it comes to the penance there, while Spawn can resist the part of his sins being flat out rebuked onto him, the flat out penance, as in the big fiery blast, is something that would kill him. Flat out. They also try to use the logic that since Spawn's cape is similar to symbiotes, which no, it is not. It's just not similar at all. A alien race born from a god is very different from a hell Spawn. That's just a false equivalency. They don't mention a speed category in specifics, but they do mention speed before, since in this context speed is a very big factor for the win con they're trying to argue. They mention that Spawn could break the concept of time, though this is more through sheer just power than speed. That's the only real speed thing they kind of bring up that's actually noteworthy. They do say he can travel to other dimension, but that's vague and scales nowhere. That's more of an attack potency feat, while the traveling dimensions feat is just kind of doesn't scale anywhere. That seems more like teleportation than anything. They at least give Ghost Rider some MFDL stuff, plus off of him outspeeding Thor's hammer, as well as the infinite different distance between Earth and Asgard, which they say Ghost Rider should be able to travel, which I think infinite speed is better than, I don't know, whatever speed they argue for Spawn, which wasn't that impressive, clearly. Even if you want to say that Spawn should be, you know, like, immeasurable off of this, Ghost Rider is obviously immeasurable himself, since I do think that both are in the immeasurable ranges of speed, like when not Death Battle lowballing them. But once again, Ghost Rider would just be more powerful. So in reality, Ghost Rider and Spawn are immeasurable speed, but Death Battle, since they didn't talk about speed that much, made Ghost Rider faster. Finally, before I conclude, I want to kind of address some misinfo around this topic. Not necessarily something that Death Battle specifically says, but just random claims I hear. Spawn scales to DC and Marvel Cosmology is something I hear a lot, but he doesn't. He doesn't exist in the same cosmology. There's small references to either comic with having no copyright over them, and that doesn't mean anything. By this logic, the statement made by Strange applies to Spawn too. Like, Ghost Rider Spawn would certainly fall under the line of that statement. And Ghost Rider should also scale to DC cosmology by that logic off of their own crossover. Ghost Rider and Spawn can only die by holy weapons. Literally just a no-limit fallacy. They have high tier regeneration and conventional immortality, making it hard for them to be defeated. What if a character is just infinitely stronger and infinitely transcendent to you? Then that doesn't matter. Outliers. There's several times where both characters have fought, got damaged by, or lost by weak beings obviously not on their cosmological destroying power they possess, even with the Spawn fighting with Batman or Ghost Rider losing to Cyclops. Most of these are either outliers or just ignoring context. A lot of these stories just have context to them on why Ghost Rider is losing or why Spawn is losing. Even if they have on multiple occasions for both characters with how large comics are and how long they've been running for both characters. To kind of give you an analogy, well, Spider-Man on several occasions has some form of Hulk scaling, literally several times. It's obviously not the narrative idea for Spider-Man to be like a Hulk tier character, despite how many times he boxes with him or characters said to be comparable with the Hulk. It's not in Ghost Rider or Spawn's character to be street tiers either. Spawn and Ghost Rider don't have their King in Hell or Divine Form amps either. Yeah, neither do actually. But I guess this is a hypothetical scenario where they do, so I'm not that bothered by it. That's kind of just a for fun thing. Like, I guess Death Battle was just giving both of them their higher tier forms. Same thing can be said about Zarathos, I guess. In conclusion, by their own logic, Ghost Rider is just too strong for Spawn, and they just kind of ignore crucial argumentation that should be used for this debate. Well, once again, the fight and the video was entertaining in itself. It just has a lot of misinfo. Please, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and make sure to follow for more. Peace.